How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and in this video, we're going to talk more about the Atlantic hurricane season and determine the amount of dry air we should experience this hurricane season, which will lead us to determine how many tropical cyclones will experience this hurricane season, since the amount of dry and stable air plays a big role in preventing tropical cyclones from developing. So less dry air would mean more tropical cyclones. So we're going to determine the amount of dry air we should expect this hurricane season. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather related content. So let's begin. I'll take a look at the CFS computer model as of right now, and we do see that for at least the next 3 months, the precipitation anomaly forecasted from the CFS climatology model, we do see that we do see more moisture than average expected for a lot of the western half of the northern Atlantic, where we do see the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico, and even portions just off the coast of the East Coast experiencing a little bit more precipitation than average, while right just to the south of the main developed region and the southern Caribbean, we're experiencing less precipitation than average. However, for the main developed region, the region synonymous with developing tropical cyclones, we do see that the precipitation anomaly is around average between a 3-month average of August, September, and October, which are the most active months of the hurricane season. So based on this, we should expect a little bit more tropical cyclones to develop right around the Caribbean as well as the western Atlantic, where we do see a little bit more precipitation than average and a little bit less stability in that area, while we do see a little bit more stability just south of the main developed region. So based on this, I'd expect this hurricane season should be a little bit more active than usual, thanks to the higher amount of instability throughout the western Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico, where we do see a lot of tropical cyclones develop in right around this area. So that's something to keep in mind, that we could see more tropical cyclones develop more in the Gulf of Mexico and the northern Caribbean rather than the main developed region this hurricane season. But I still do expect quite a bit of tropical cyclones to develop off the main developed region, as well as I still do expect the sea surface temperatures to rise above average. If we were to take a look at the sea surface temperature anomaly forecast from the CFS model, we do see that the CFS model by August is expecting sea surface temperatures warmer than average right around the main developed region. But we do see that most of the warmest of the sea surface temperatures, at least in the hurricane season area of the northern Atlantic, is the Gulf of Mexico and along the East Coast as well. But if we take a look throughout the extreme northern portion of the Atlantic, we see sea surface temperatures are well above average, but at least for at least in the area where tropical cyclones develop, the Gulf of Mexico is experiencing sea surface temperatures a little bit warmer than average, which is why this the CFS computer model expects more moist and average conditions right around the Gulf of Mexico, as well as the the western Atlantic, because the sea surface temperatures are a little bit warmer than compared to the main developed region, which allows less stability to occur here and more of an upward motion of the atmosphere and an increased amount of upward motion in the atmosphere as a result of the warmer temperatures that are pretty much triggered by the warmer than average sea surface temperatures we're experiencing along the western Atlantic. So as a result, I do expect more tropical cyclones to develop right around the western Atlantic, and overall, thanks to the warmer than average sea surface temperatures, and most of the Atlantic should be well above average when it comes to precipitation. And moving on to September, October, it really doesn't change. The sea surface temperatures are still much warmer than average. Taking a look at the 3-month anomaly, you see that most of the Atlantic is experiencing sea surface temperatures warmer than average, so we should expect a little bit more of an upward motion of the in the atmosphere, which right around the northern Atlantic, which will encourage more convection for more tropical cyclones to develop as a result of the warmer than average sea surface temperatures, increasing the temperature, and as a result increasing the amount of water vapor the atmosphere could hold for more tropical cyclones to develop. So that's something to keep in mind. Taking a look at sea surface temperatures as of right now, July 4th, 2022, we do see that sea surf temperatures are much warmer than average right around the Gulf of Mexico for this time of the year, while for the Caribbean and I'd say portions of the Western Atlantic, we do see patches where the sea surf temperatures are warmer than average. However, surprisingly enough, the current sea surf temperature anomaly is cooler than average right around the main Devon region for the most part, but we do see some patches and we do see that just to the south of this, the sea surf temperatures are warmer. I still do expect the sea surf temperatures to rise above average by the time we hit the more active part of the hurricane season. So I still do expect a more moist than average environment, which will prevent a lot of dry air from existing in the northern Atlantic this hurricane season, thanks to the warmer than average sea surf temperatures, encouraging more convection. Now, another thing we need to take a look at is the MJO forecasts, because that plays a big role in terms of how much lift there will be in the Atlantic, which would encourage more tropical cyclone development. And as you can see right now, we're in the positive MJO pattern, which means that air is a little bit more stable over the northern Atlantic at this time, which is for the time being preventing tropical cyclones from developing. It's also in part due to the fact that we're still in the more early part of the hurricane season. July isn't really necessarily known as a very active month compared to August and September. So as a result, we aren't seeing a lot of tropical cyclones develop, or at least we're not watching anything as of right now. However, we do see that as we head into week 2, we begin to see the negative MJO pattern begin to move into the northern Atlantic. And this is concerning because this will move in right at the beginning of when the hurricane season begins to get more active, which is right around August or late July. So the fact that we're expecting a negative MJO pattern entering the northern Atlantic by the time the more active part of the hurricane season comes really is concerning, especially since an MJO pattern typically lasts for around 30 to 60 days. So let's say this negative MJO pattern begins in the northern Atlantic right around late July or early August, then that would mean that we could see the negative MJO pattern last until the end of September, which would be definitely concerning because that will promote the most lift in the atmosphere in the northern Atlantic and the most convection in the northern Atlantic at the most active parts of the hurricane season, which would definitely enhance the probability that more tropical cyclones will develop. So that's definitely a concern, which is why I do believe that we're going to see more tropical cyclones than average this hurricane season. Now, another thing I'm going to show you guys is a current drought monitor for the United States, because this also plays a pretty big role in terms of how much stability there will be along the Atlantic coast. And we do see that for a lot of the southwestern portion of the United States, which includes California, Nevada, Utah, and into Texas, conditions are drier than average, and in some areas you are under a severe drought, especially right around the Houston area. So this could bring a little bit more stability along the Louisiana and Texas coast. So maybe there's that possibility that tropical cyclones will weaken as a result of the existence of dry air thanks to this drought. And the thing is, when you're under a severe drought, the air is just extremely stable because, of course, there isn't a lot of moisture in the soil for the atmosphere to hold up. So really, all there is very stable and dry air right around Texas and Louisiana. So if a tropical cyclone were to come close, the good news is that maybe some of this dry air associated with this drought would inhibit tropical cyclone development near Texas or Louisiana, or weaken a tropical cyclone if it were to approach Texas or Louisiana. And however, I still, thanks to the warmer than average sea surf temperatures, I still do expect more tropical cyclones to impact the Gulf Coast and potentially get the Texas and Louisiana out of a severe drought. So while we are seeing a drought currently for Texas and Louisiana, and a little bit of a drought right around the Carolinas, I don't think the dry air will necessarily be enough to prevent more active than usual hurricane season. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But we're going to be keeping a close eye on the drought monitor over the next several months to really determine if this will have a pretty big effect in the for the hurricane season along the Gulf Coast. Now, another thing I want to show you guys is the current Saharan dust layer forecast, which again plays a pretty big role in terms of how much stability there is in the Northern Atlantic. And you see that for the time being, a good portion of the main development region is experiencing higher than usual, or at least a good amount of Saharan dust. However, this typically happens during the early part of the hurricane season, so I wouldn't take this as that this will last all hurricane season, because I still do expect the Saharan dust to move away from the main development region by the August time frame. So I still do expect quite a bit of tropical cyclones to develop right around the main development region, despite the existence of Saharan dust at this time. Now, taking a look at my forecast when it comes to dry air and dust for the Northern Atlantic, and you see that I'm expecting it to be very humid, which will increase the amount of storms right along the United States, which is definitely a major concern that we could see more tropical cyclones develop right around the Gulf of Mexico. And while we aren't necessarily seeing the high amount of humidity right around the main development region, we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of times where we see tropical cyclones struggle in the main development region but become monsters by the time they reach the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Case in point is Hurricane Harvey, which was struggling as it moved through the main development region as a tropical wave, but then just exploded in intensity and made landfall along Texas coast as a Category 4 and became the second most costliest disaster in U.S. history. And same could be said for Hurricane Katrina, which initially struggled in the main development region, but just exploded into a Category 5 hurricane just before its landfall right around Louisiana and Mississippi, and that became one of the worst disasters in world history. So just because we might not see as much humidity in the main developed region does not at all mean that less tropical cyclones will happen this hurricane season, because of course we could see a lot of tropical cyclones develop right around the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean this hurricane season. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content, and I hope you guys all have a great day.